Welcome to Wrestling with Success, the best and only podcast for the wrestlers of tomorrow. Please welcome your host, Nigel? Oh, right. Your host and future champion, Neil McMillan.
Yo. Okay, guys and girls, welcome to episode 20 of the Wrestling with Success podcast. This episode, I have someone a little sick and someone a little twisted. Yesterday, I literally witnessed this guy threaten a kid in a wheelchair with a kendo stick because he wouldn't stand up, which is either brilliant or horrifying. But he started out at IPW UK, fast forward 3.5 years, and he's since wrestled for IPW, Full House Wrestling, UKPW, Dropkixx and Wrestleforce, a member of the Rebellion, and a character and promo specialist. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Brandon Croft. Brandon, how are you?
I'm very good now. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. This whole clock's going back has really fucked with my life a little bit. So I'm a little bit of an old man, Brandon. So like now, in my head, I'm thinking it's fucking 10 o'clock. And 10 o'clock when you're my age, it's like, I want to get in fucking bed. So, but no, absolutely fine. So, Brandon, I gave a very brief introduction, but let's kick things straight off. Where did it all start with wrestling for you?
Oh, for me, I'd sort of say it started when I was probably around, I'm not even sure, like 5 or 6. Like I was watching wrestling. I just got put in front of it so they could shut me up as a kid. Like I think that's what all kids start off, like they get put in front of the TV to shut them up, and wrestling was on. I remember watching Rey Mysterio. I thought he was like this amazing superhero. I absolutely loved him to pieces, and then didn't watch wrestling for about another 6 months, and all of a sudden he disappeared. I was absolutely devastated. But that's where it sort of all started. It's just just watching it in front of the TV, getting put there, and all of a sudden these massive men in spandex, which is every 6-year-old's dream, I think, just to watch these massive guys like wrestling each other, throwing each other about, and it's just like in your head you're like, wow, these guys are proper superheroes.
Yeah, man, it's like nothing you've ever seen before as well. So I mean, what kind of era was that? Was that when he was in WCW or WWE?
Oh, that was definitely, I'm not old enough to be in WCW.
I've just got to make sure, man. I've got to make sure. No, so WWE. So what do you reckon? 2000s, 2006s?
Around, what year are we in now? It's 2017, so probably around 2005, 2006. It was about the time he was going through that rivalry with Chavo Guerrero, got put in a tree of woe, and chair whacked into his knee, and it took out his knee for a long time.
Oh, right, yeah. Was that so? That was after Eddie Guerrero and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, past Eddie Guerrero.
All that drama.
Like, but bro, I've watched back some of his matches, and wow.
I know, yeah. So I mean, fast forward then. How did you get from watching it and Rey Mysterio to then making the decision of turning up to IPW and start your training?
Well, actually, that's actually quite a fun story. So I was at like in care homes at the time, and I just saw this wrestling thing was on, and I asked my carers, like, can I go to this wrestling show? And they ended up buying me tickets for my birthday, and they took me down there. And me being me, like, we're in Margate Winter Gardens, and I'm like, oh wow, like John Cena versus The Rock tonight, maybe they're going to turn up, because it was WrestleMania night, and there's me thinking that, John Cena and The Rock going to turn up at Winter Gardens, and then later on turn up in wherever they were doing WrestleMania that year, like 3 hours later. Like, it just wasn't going to happen, but me being me, it was like, yeah, I'm going to get to see John Cena and The Rock. And so I'll go down there, and I watch the show, and in the main event, it's Annalise Travis versus Hacken in like a no rules match for the title, and I was like just so mesmerized by it all, watching it live. Hacken got a ladder thrown into his face, which is always fun to see. And I absolutely loved watching that live. So 6 months later, when they came back, I watched it again, and 6 months later, I watched it again, and so now I've been watching it for 18 months of live, only this one show, and I get the chance to do a backstage meet and greet. So I'm going around the backstage meet and greet, and Hacken is doing the backstage meet and greet. So I get a chance to see him, and I'm like, oh yeah, man, like, I want to be a wrestler. Like, it's what I've seen for years and years. Like, this is the one thing that has always been like my male influence in my whole life is wrestling, and I just really want to be a wrestler. And his advice to me was, all you've got to do is find a wrestling school and go and train. There's loads around here. You just got to go and find them, and you've just got to go and train. That's all you have to do, and you'll be able to do it. And that, like, just gave me such great advice and like inspiration to just go on to do it all. So I went online, looked up wrestling places, and found IPW. So 3 weeks later, after that advice, I started wrestling training, and I started training loads. Like, I loved it. I didn't miss a single week for ages and ages. And it's actually quite a funny story, because now Hacken, after leaving the business for a bit, has actually started training at IPW with me, and now me and Hacken are really good mates. It's really weird.
Oh, good. So have you got a match lined up yet? Go full circle with him?
That's what I want. I want, like, if anyone hears this and wants to put me versus Hacken, like, please do. Like, that's going to be my dream match right there. It's just like me and Hacken, the guy that started it all off. Like, he is genuinely such a lovely bloke, and I would be honoured to have a chance to share the ring, the squared circle with.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So, I mean, when you started training, was there anything you kind of struggled with? Can you remember? Well, first of all, can you remember your first training session? Turning up to that.
I remember my first training session, and I remember turning up and dreading the warm up, and it was everything that I thought it was going to be. And it was horrible. I was training with James Davis of the London Riots. He was in charge at that point. Absolutely amazing coach. Like, I learned so much from him. And my first session, like, we're doing push-ups, and I'm just like, I've never done a push-up before in my life. Like, I've always faked them. It's never actually worked. Now doing them for real. And then we're doing bridges, which is a new thing to me. It's just like, it's something to strengthen your neck, and I was just like, this hurts like crazy.
Yeah.
And then, like, doing rolls and bumps. And I remember doing my first front bump, actually. So Kieran Donnelly of D&D was teaching me how to do front bumps. And so we're on our knees, and he tells us just to jump up, land on our fronts, hands out, and I go to do it. And I just jump up, like, amazingly, because all I wanted to do was wrestle. So I jump up, smash myself down, and he's like, yeah, it was really good. And I was just thinking, ow, that really hurt. Like, smashing your ribs on the floor. It's like,
yeah, is this what I've got to do now to get good positive comments? You've set the bar high.
Just get yourself hurt, and everyone loves it. So, and then at the session, though, we got to do promos, and promos are like my favourite thing in the world, and that was before I even started wrestling. I loved promos, just because I used to be an actor, so, like, for me, promos were like a big deal. And I go over to the guy that's, like, training us, JD, and I was like, look, man, promos is where it's at, bro. Like, I've got this stuff. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll see. And then I do this promo. It's like really cringy because I can't help but copy Cena. So, like, I'm in there just going,
Thugonomics Cena or the hustle, loyalty, respect Cena?
A hustle, loyalty, respect. I didn't know about
it. Wasn't Thugonomics.
Like, all I just keep seeing is I keep saying the thing where it's like, I don't need to be like John Cena going, you can't see me, and at the end of the match I'm going to beat you with the 1, 2, 3. I don't need to do that. I'm amazing. And it's just like, everyone liked it, and then afterwards I was just like, probably shouldn't mention Cena in your promos though. And I'm like, yeah, probably shouldn't.
Fair. So how long were you training there before you kind of started to realise that you're actually not only just at promos, but in terms of wrestling, you're starting to become quite good, and leading up to your first match? How long were you there training for that?
That's like, I don't think there's ever a moment that I can say, you know, I'm now solid on wrestling. Yeah. Like, that's still not happened for me. Like, you know, I'm still learning every single time that I can. But like, I got my first Rumble match. So I started in early or late May, somewhere around then. I think it's early May. And then I got my first Rumble match on the 31st of August, and then went on to that, and then got my first singles match against JD in February. It was February 21st of like the following year. But like, there's a moment in training when we're getting asked to do these rolls and asked them to do these bumps, and before it was always you had to think about doing them, and just one week all of a sudden I just didn't think about it. I just did it all, and like JD's like, yeah, it's really good, and I just realised at that point like something sunk into my brain. Like all of a sudden I don't have to worry about thinking about things now. I just know how to do it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the only moment that I really thought, like, you know, I've actually started to progress and get good stuff here.
Yeah, I mean, so you debuted in a Rumble. I've got my debut. It's in a Rumble. It's in 2 weeks' time. Give me some advice for a Rumble.
Oh, advice for a Rumble? Don't do what I did. So what I did was, I got into the Rumble. I've got like these short jeggings from Primark, nice. And one set of them was see-through, so I was wearing two, and I'm stood there, pasty as anything, just a fat kid with these like fat kid things not changed, but like just a fat kid in these short jeggings, and I'm like stood opposite the ring of Jimmy Havoc and JD, and Jimmy just points at me, looks at JD, and laughs. And I've since found out that I got a nickname after that Rumble, which was Pants Man, because they just looked like I went in my boxes. Then I just like the bell rung, and I stood there and just looked at everything that was happening, like I was watching a wrestling show, but I was stood in the ring. Yeah. And eventually, someone just like grabbed someone, took him to the corner. I was like, Brandon, come and kick this guy. So I did, and then I saw someone get chopped, and I was like, oh, I do not want to take that. So when someone like threw me out, I was like, thank God, and just jumped out as soon as I could. Like it was scary as anything.
Yeah, no, I can imagine, man. I'm dreading it a little bit.
Well, Rumble's on, like, nothing's planned. Like, you know, hate to break the secret, wrestling is normally planned some things. And I'm in a Rumble, and nothing's been planned. And so all of a sudden, I'm just like, what do I do? If I kick someone, will I get told off?
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I'm going through in my head as well, trying to figure it all out. But so, I mean, when I first looked back at some of your pictures, though, when you started out, I saw some of your pictures. You were a clean-cut, good and proper-looking kid.
Oh, those were the days back when I had innocence.
Can you tell us about your character transformations now, then, from going... because I'm assuming when you started out, were you a face or a heel, or...?
I was a face when I started out, so I was a face called the Ream Dream. I was an Essex character, getting a spray tan every single show.
Nice.
It was terrible, honestly. And then I ended up getting bored of paying for this fake tan to basically stand pretty much naked in front of someone whilst they're spraying me with their gun. Like, I just got bored of that, and I was like, that costs money. I don't want to do it anymore. So I went up to the promoter, and I was just like, can I change my character? Because at the time, like, I was only wrestling for one company, so I thought, you know, I should run this past the promoter. And he was like, yeah, sure. And then he messages me a few weeks later, and he says, I've got this really cool idea for a character for you. I want you to go back and watch a lot of Raven stuff. So start watching Raven from WCW, watching his Flock stuff. There's a whole like series on YouTube of like 19 different extracts of all of his best stuff with the Flock.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. Like, this guy was just so good at promos, so like sad and sadistic, and I was just thinking, this guy's amazing. I don't understand how I'm going to be able to be this guy.
Yeah.
And so like I come around to like I start doing it in training. I'm not fully getting it, and then I get put in a match against Mike the Strike Broly, and Mike is an amazing wrestler. Like, legit one of my favorite guys to work with. I feel like we bring the best out in each other. We just like, I'm in this match with him, and I don't really know what I need to do for my character yet. Like, I think I understand it, and that's something that I always thought. I always thought I understood stuff, and I didn't. So like, I'm doing this match, I'm getting these kicks from like a legit kickboxer guy. There's one point when I'm outside the ring, and he gives me a balor kick, and I genuinely thought that I died. Because I just got left with this like massive boot print up my chest.
Oh, nice.
But like, literally, everyone's reaction as well. They thought I was dead too. But like, I was just doing this match, and I was thinking, I don't understand this character properly yet. I think I do, but I don't, and I realised that. And I got knocked out on at the end of the match. Brody knocks pretty much everyone out, and like get carried to the back, and then I'm like, right, I need to think about my character more before I like do anything else. So then I spent a lot of time just watching all these different characters, trying to figure out how I need to think as a person, and I get it a bit more. And I go into a scrum match against a bunch of IPW trainees and James Davis, and like I did a lot better in that match, in my opinion. And then finally, it came up to a point when I was facing Scott Starr, and like the Scott Starr thing was like a real build. So originally, what started me turning heel for like what the fans could see was Scott basically bullying me on social media. It seems like it's all jokey banter, and like everyone's taking it as that, and then I'm not meant to be, and I'm like all upset by it, and that's what starts to send me on like mood swings and stuff. And like there's points when I got told about how punters were generally going up to the promoter saying that he needs to do something because they think I'm having a mental breakdown. I always loved that. Like when I heard that, I thought, do you know what, you've done it. And what else I did, like a point where I realised I've done something really good here was I was in an audience for a future show, and I put on social media, sat in an audience of a future show after wrestling for 2 years. Guess wrestling training doesn't get you anywhere, and that was completely like, it was all for the character, and it wasn't myself, and people thought it was myself, so people were giving like legit, like giving me heat for it. And then I had fans liking that post, and then I snapped someone's headband when they tried to put it on me later on that evening, and as a result, they had deleted me off Facebook by the end of the show. So at the beginning of the show, they were liking a post on my Facebook, and by the end, they had deleted me. And I was like, wow, like that transition of making people... Because we were genuinely worried that everyone was going to start booing Scott, because like they felt bad for me. Like, I've been such an ultimate underdog where I told people my real life story. Like, I wasn't scared to tell people, like, you know, my care experiences where I like got given up by my mum and stuff. I wasn't scared about telling people that. So they all like wanted me all the time to be this good guy, and we were worried that at one point they were going to start booing Scott and cheering me, and that would have just been completely counterproductive to everything that we wanted. So when they deleted me on Facebook after liking a post of mine, I was just thinking, do you know what? Yeah, like, we've managed to finally get to where we need to be. We finally managed to just bring in all of this heat that I needed from that one action. And then after that is when people started to boo me a lot more. And then when I got that match with Scott, like, we started it off with me just charging at him. He evades me like crazy. I slap him in the face, so he super kicks me, and the pop for the super kick was like phenomenal. Like, everyone was absolutely in love with it. So yeah, like, it was at that point when I realised that the character had developed into something that actual people hated. But the process along the way, I did not think that people were gonna boo me at first. Like, I was trying to get them to boo me and they weren't. But then, like, since then, I managed to transition the character even further. So, like, over the past few months, I've tried to make my character a lot more twisted, as you've seen with the Rebellion. Like, Jack brought out a good side of me when I wrestled with him. That's Jack Torino. Me and him, like, whenever I wrestle with him, for some reason he's able to make me feel like a demon. Wheeling everywhere. Like last night when I was in a match, I was in a 3-on-2 handicap match with him, and I'm just like screaming everything that I say. I'm threatening a kid in a wheelchair with a kendo stick, and like it was honestly so good. And like, yeah, I think one of the best things I can say for development of characters though is if you're looking to develop your character, spend time with people that have amazing characters around you. Watch a lot of people. Like someone that I've been watching recently is a lot of Jake the Snake Roberts, Mankind, especially when Mankind was like transitioning. So like Mick Foley was transitioning between characters.
Yeah.
Watch Raven. Like Raven's amazing. Like people like that are just some of the best people to watch because like they gave me a lot of stuff to use. I started to understand a lot more stuff about how to transition into a darker character through all of that.
Yeah. No, I think you're right in the fact that Jack's a good person to work alongside with because he's just got a strong character, and I think it's a lot easier when I know for me when I'm training or I'm wrestling, if I know the character that I'm up against, I know how to use my character against it. So if you're a character against a character, you kind of know what buttons to push and what levers to pull. But if you're a character against someone who's not a character, it's a little bit, it's just you got to think about how you do your character kind of thing. So it is a lot easier with strong characters as well, and I think the three of you work really well as well, and I think it's helped Luke as well because Luke Harding, who's part of it as well, because he kind of plays the Eric Rowan kind of mute role where he doesn't need to talk. And I think that Luke prefers that because he's talking. I don't think even he would admit is his strong point. So I think the Rebellion does definitely work, and it was good seeing you all come out as well. It was actually looked the part and completely menacing as well. It's good.
I absolutely loved coming out yesterday with Rebellion. Like we did some really cool stuff yesterday. If you missed it, the only place you're going to be able to watch it is Dropkixx Wrestling. Rebellion is like one of my favorite things I'm doing right now. Like it just gives me such a I've got a target of where I want the Rebellion to go, and Torino and Luke are amazing people to work with, as well as Damien when he came with us with that one match and then got fired because he beat up Lucas. But like, yeah, it was like honestly one of the best things ever. Like Rebellion is one of my favorite things to work with. Like working with Jack is absolutely phenomenal. Like he brings out a good side in me, and like working with Luke as well, where Luke's like he's got these ideas and like he'll tell us them, and actually they're really good.
Yeah. And
we're just trying now, where we're also still quite fresh together, try and piece together where we all stand with each other and where we want to use each other for the best.
Yeah.
So like Luke not talking was my idea. I said to him, I was like, bro, like you've got that mask thing over your mouth. You don't need to talk. You look scary. You look like our henchman. Like you don't need to talk. So let Jack be the stable talker. Let him be the person that everyone's like listening to, and let me just be the really creepy person that like he talks, but you know, you're not really sure if you want to listen to him talk. And then like so like no one really wanted to listen to Luke Harper talk when he was with Bray Wyatt, because Bray Wyatt was the one that everyone wants to hear talk, and that's what Torino is. Torino is our Bray Wyatt, and then I'm the Luke Harper with the fact that like people aren't too sure on it, and people aren't too sure about whether you want to hear him talk or whether you want to hear him just like, or not hear him, like just see him in the background. And with Luke, like if he just stands there as Eric Rowan, like everyone is scared of Luke. Like I'm scared of Luke when I come out of my entrance. It's like me and Torino are like hugging, and then there's Luke just looking scary on the side,
wide-eyed as well.
Like I had a kendo stick, I wasn't going near him.
That is good. It all worked, man. It's good. So Rebellion as well. You've got an upcoming match at Brentwood this Sunday, haven't you?
We do. Yeah, we've got the Rebellion and John Saeed, which is a very Arab name, against High-NG, Aaron Jones, and the champion Taylor Essex, who I thoroughly look forward to destroying through the canvas. And yeah, that should be really fun. Come down to Brentwood this Sunday, 5th of November. Definitely come down and have a watch. There's also some amazing matches and featuring Crusher Curtis. I believe Andre's putting his career on the line, which is going to be mental. So yeah, just come down, have a watch up in Brentwood, and honestly, I will personally sign anything you give to me, as long as it's not a contract for anything to do with my life.
Fair enough. Well, there you go, girls. Get down there and get your boobs out, and you get them signed by Brandon Croft. No problem. I mean, along with all the transformation of the characters and all of that, you've got this ability as well to. You previously mentioned it, construct a promo, and I believe you even mentioned that MVP was a fan of your promo work. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was a great session actually. So MVP came to a training session at IPW at a Harlow show before I think he faced No Fun Damien Dunn that night. And so he was just doing a training session, and he just asked everyone at the beginning, what do you guys want to get out of the session? And I chucked my hand up and I went straight away, I want to do character and promo work. Like, that's... if you ever look at any of the MVP stuff, like, he was at the pinnacle when I was watching WWE. My main time watching it was the MVP and Chris Benoit, like, feud. Like, big fan of Benoit. Like, such a good worker. Like, I was watching him versus MVP, and I was mesmerized by their feud, and it was so good. And just watching MVP and his promos, the way he acted, like, he never came out of character, and you never saw the guy behind MVP. You only ever saw Montel Vontavious Porter, and it was amazing. And so then when he came down, I was like, this is what I want to do with you. I want to learn how to be you, because you're amazing. And so it's like, okay, well, I had character stuff planned anyway, so who's good at promos? Like, who's comfortable and thinks they're really good at promos? And I was the only one that shoved my hand up. And he's like, well, I guess you're going first then, bro. And I was like, all right. So I sit on the stage, and he goes, right, so you've got 60 seconds. This Sunday, you're facing Samoa Joe for the Universal title at the O2 Arena. Go. And I was just thinking, what have I got myself into here? So I start, and I'm just like, I just think, what does Samoa Joe get chanted at him? Joe is going to kill you. I'm like, Joe is going to kill you. Joe is going to kill you. Joe is going to kill me? Do you know what, Joe? I've been trying that for years. If you want to give it a go, please do. And like, I'd started it with that.
Wow,
and,
nice.
How has he thought of that so quickly? And I was just thinking, I don't know what I'm saying at this point. And I go into that stuff. I start talking about, obviously, the details about where we're facing each other and stuff. And then at the end, I turn it around and go, this Sunday, Joe, I'm going to kill you. And everyone was like, oh, wow, like, that was a really, really good promo. And I look up, I look at MVP. He was like, yeah, it was really good. I can see why you're confident at promos. Has anyone got any advice for him? And, like, no one put their hand up. And MVP was like, to be honest, I can't think of anything either. And at that point, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And then I chucked my hand up, and I'm like, to be honest, I should have made more eye contact with the hard cam. And he was like, yeah, actually, that's a good point, something to keep in mind. But I didn't particularly mind you not looking at it for the promo. And I was like, okay. And so I go and sit down, and other people start having goes. And every single time when he says, has anyone got any advice, I chuck my hand up, and I'm like giving these little things. Like, someone had Madison Square Gardens as their arena, and they went, because when I face you at MSG, and afterwards I was like, bro, like, Madison Square Gardens is the best arena in the world, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. Like, there's no other arena that has the feel of Madison Square Gardens. So spend that time with, like, in Madison Square Gardens. And like, his promo ended something like 5 seconds early. I said, but you could have just spent that whole 5 seconds earlier on saying Madison Square Gardens, because it's such an important venue. And if you're pointing out that you're wrestling in an important venue, people care more, because it's like, if you're wrestling in an important venue, that makes you an important person. And if you're an important person, I want to spend my time on you. And I was saying stuff like that, and MVP was just like, I don't understand why I'm here. Like, you're literally taking the words out of my mouth, mate. Like, you're so good. And I was like, oh, cheers, man. And I keep doing it, and like, keep giving my advice and stuff. And he's just like, seriously, just just quit wrestling, like just go and be a backstage guy, because legit, you know all the stuff. You're the kind of person that Vince is looking for. And I was just like, wow, like that's coming from MVP.
Yeah.
Someone that like has worked with Vince. Like he pitched the idea of his character to Vince, and the first thing that Vince said was, "Why is this guy not on my TV already?" Like he's that good. And he was telling me that I'm the kind of guy that Vince was looking for, as in like my mind with promos. And I was just thinking that's such an honor to get given that by MVP. And yeah, I was absolutely flabbergasted. Absolutely loved the guy MVP. And I couldn't have asked for better feedback at all.
Wow, man, that's good. So, I mean, can you give some of the listeners some main tips and advice that you could give anyone about promos? What are the main things you would give people?
My main things is, if you have a character, use it to your advantage. Like with my character, I was able to slow things down, find one little thing, and use that whilst I thought about the rest of the promo. And like that gives you time, and that's the most important thing, to be able to find out where you've got time in a promo. It's just so important, because everyone, like, you see people try and cram stuff into promos and it's not needed. Whereas if you can think about your time, think about your promo whilst you're saying it, then you're able to just take that second back, and then the next thing you say means something because you thought of it, and the next thing you say means something. And if you say half as much in a promo, but because you've taken that step back and you thought, so it means more, you haven't actually lost anything in your promo. Like, all of it actually means just as much, because people are like paying attention to what you say. What you say is important, and if you're important, you can say half as much and they care more. And like that's really important to do. Like, make sure that you don't cram your promos, that instead you take your time saying what is important. And like, obviously, people always say, you know, make sure you get where you're wrestling, the date, the time, where it is, like the promotion, stuff like that. They always say get that stuff in, and like get yourself in, as in your name, get your opponent in, what you want out of the match into the promo, and like all that stuff's really important. But like, you know, of all the promos nowadays, at the end you've got a graphic anyway, so like that's not half as important as meaning what you say. And like, always try and get that stuff in, because obviously if you give it to them audibly and then they see a picture with it as well, they're twice as likely to remember it, twice as likely to turn up. But if you can make people understand and feel what you say with every single word, then you've never done a bad promo, because that's what promos are about, right? They're about connecting, about giving a message over and making people remember that message and feel that message. And so if, like, at the end of your promo, someone goes, "Oh, that's all right promo," then you've not done a good job. If someone goes, "Wow, that guy, that character, he knows everything, like he understands everything," then all of a sudden you've got like a surefire win, because you can't lose after that.
That's good. Good advice, man. Good advice. I mean, one of the main things as well, since you've started to come to Dropkixx as well, you've mentioned that you work a strong style, and you don't hide it as well. You're quite open to the fact that you do so. Is that something you've always? Is that the way you've been taught, or is that something you've kind of adopted along the way? Because I like it. I'm one for strong style. I can't stand it when someone kind of throws a limp wrist and it kind of like brushes someone. I think those days are gone now. Since NXT and since the whole the British tournament and everything, now everyone's been exposed to things being laid in a little bit more, rather than kind of fluffy hands kind of bouncing off each other. So I'm a fan of it. I just wanted to see if it's something you've adopted over the time, and any tips you could give in it.
It was 100% adopted. Like, I used to work really light, never wanted to hurt an opponent, like, because that's the main thing about wrestling. Like, you don't want to hurt your opponent. Like, you know, the point of it is to convey a fight without actually being hurt like a fight. Yeah. And I was wrestling Paul Robinson, my first time against a pro, and I wrestled him, and like I felt how he laid stuff in, and I was like, yeah, like that's what I'm going to do with people. I'm going to lay my stuff in, because if a pro does it, that's what I do. So like since then I've been like, I wouldn't say stiff people because like I don't stiff them. They never hurt. Like they feel what it is at the time. They're like, oh wow, this is how I need to sell it because this is how it actually kind of hurts.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to sell, isn't it?
Yeah, and like if you're working with someone where you're not really sure they're selling, like how well they know to sell. Like if I'm working with one of my mates that I know you know how to sell really well, I won't hit you as hard because I know how you know how to sell it. But if I'm working with somewhere I don't really know if you know how to sell that well, then I'll just do it a little bit harder so that they understand where the pain is, how the pain would feel if I did it harder, and then they can sell it that way. Like I'm not scared to say that like I'm really firm in what I do. Like when I kick people in the back, like I saw someone teaching kicks in the back and like they didn't touch them in the back, and I was like, but there's a safe place to kick in the back, and you do it with a flat foot, you make a nice noise off their back, they know where it is, they know how to sell it. Like the first time I got given a knee drop, I had my t-shirt pulled over my face, so I didn't know it was a knee drop. And like with knee drops, obviously it's a bit different because you don't actually want to get kneed in the face. That's like brutal. But like to not know how to sell something, and then in the middle of a match not sell it, is worse than someone like putting it in a bit harder and you know how to sell it, where to sell it. And so like I think it's important to, like if you see all these flimsy people, you see flimsy strikes, it's like, man, like it's not wrestling, like these guys are just pretending. But if you're throwing a strike and people are going, wow, he just punched him, I think this guy just punched him.
Yeah.
Like that's when wrestling is now real, and like wrestling's fake enough without us throwing bad punches, right? Like,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Fake enough without us actually kicking each other, and like you can kick each other safely, make a sound, make people understand what it is, including the worker that you're working, and not hurt anybody. And I think it's finding that middle ground where you're not hurting anybody, but it's making a sound, they know what it is, the fans know what it is, and the fans go, wow, I think this kid's getting hurt. Like, one thing I did yesterday, I kicked Jack Walker, I kicked him in the butt for some reason, but I kicked him in the butt and all the fans were like, oh, and like, they, just from a kick in the butt, they were like, wow, this guy might be hurt just from a kick to the butt. And it's like, it didn't hurt him at all. Like, yeah, it's just wrestling. And, but for that second, I suspended their disbelief just because I laid my stuff in a bit further than others. And, like, I've got nothing against anyone that doesn't do that at all. Like, you know, you always fails. But, in my opinion, if I can't feel your strike and I said it wrong, you now can't be annoyed at me for it.
Yeah,
but if it's something into me, as long as you're not, like, if I feel like you're purposely stiffing me, then obviously I'm not going to be too happy about it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
If you're just laying your stuff into me, then I don't mind. Like, I'd rather come out of a match with, you know, a couple of bruises, maybe a bit of blood's been drawn in my mouth because, like, one shot, like, hit me in the mouth a bit too hard. But, like, I'd rather come out with that than come out going, I don't know what that strike was, and now I've just mugged this guy off. Like, I don't ever want to mug. Like, that's just what you don't want to do in wrestling. You don't want to mug people off. So you always want to make sure you're laying the stuff in so that they know how to sell it so that they don't mug you off, and you want them to lay it into you so that you don't mug them off, because ultimately it's all just a goal of portraying something. So if you mug people off, there's not really any place for it in wrestling.
Yeah, and the audience spot it as well, and they know when something kind of goes a little bit, when something looks a little bit off, and like you said, people know it's fake. But it doesn't mean they want to be showing it in every second of a match as well. So, but I mean, what are some things that you've learnt since starting training? Like 3.5 years in, you've I saw you put a post out, the fact that you wanted to, your goal for this year was to get 5 promotions, wrestle for 5 different promotions. What would you go back to say to Brandon just walking through the door at IPW for the very first time? What advice would you give old Brandon from walking in for the first time?
I'll say walk back out, because I was a little kid when I came into wrestling. Like, when I came into wrestling, I was thinking that I was the big I am because, like, I'm a wrestler now, and I messed up a lot. Like, I was just a little kid that grew up in care, didn't really understand social skills, didn't really understand social etiquette, and like didn't understand how to be professional. And so straight away, I messaged so many promoters. Like within a year, I'd messaged so many promoters and made so many mistakes. But like since then, I've learned from them mistakes, and like there's still mistakes I'm gonna make. Like I'm by no means not a straw. Like I'll freely admit that I'm a bit of a straw. But I would just say, don't message promoters. Shut up a bit more. Pay more attention to actually learn to wrestle, because there's so much more that I could have got out of a lot of things. So yeah, just basically shut up, don't message people, and wait for your time, because when your time comes, you'll know. And like, I felt that time come earlier on this year. Like, I felt like, I feel like I'm starting to get good enough. I could probably go to another promotion and like not get told that I'm being a straw.
Yeah.
And I did. So like, I went up to Dropkixx and I went to UKPW. The other week I wrestled for Wrestleforce. Like, I've started wrestling for more companies because I stopped messaging people, started shutting up, paid a lot more dues, and like just stuff like I'd turn up to UKPW, would set up their rings, do whatever they need me to do, and then I'd sit down and then go home. And like doing that, the promoter liked it, and as a result, it's like giving me chances on the shows now. And it's like, if early Brandon did that instead of message people, then I think rather than 5 companies this year, I probably could have done 10.
Yeah.
But because I messed up earlier on, I burnt a lot of bridges originally, of which if anyone listens to this, that I did that too. Very sorry. I straw. But like, yeah, to see what I've learnt now, if I had a chance to tell me, I just basically told him to shut up.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. You're still a young kid as well, man. You've got plenty of time, and you think 5 this year, then at least you've achieved that, and you can move on to whatever's coming up for next year. So no, that's good. But Brandon, right now, it's fan time. So these are quick fire questions to get your answers as a wrestling fan. Quick fire. So, best IC champion in the last 10 years, Miz or Jericho?
Oh.
I know the answer, but I want to hear it.
You know the answer, because I've told you this answer before, and everyone disagreed with me. For the past 10 years of IC Championship work, The Miz.
You think The Miz has been the best IC champion in the last 10 years?
Out of Miz and Jericho, for the past 10 years worth of work, IC Championship, The Miz. Like, The Miz has held a lot. The Miz has made it really relevant again recently. That promo against Daniel Bryan, like, everyone talks about it, and like, it's amazing. He got pushed a little bit early when he should have done, but boy, The Miz is an amazing worker. I absolutely love The Miz, and I feel like now he's starting to get appreciated for what actually, especially on the mic, he could do all along. And yeah, he's just, his promo work. The fact that someone can beat Jericho's promo work in my mind is already amazing, because I think so highly of Jericho. But Miz promos are off the chart. Like, if I ever do a promo and someone compares it to The Miz, I will fall down and quit wrestling, because that'll be the highlight.
Well, I mean, I like Miz back when he did get the early push. I liked him then. So now, like, he's even better now, and he's obviously a lot more down a career. But anyway, next question. If you had to save one of the 3 wrestlers released today, who would you save? Darren Young, Summer Rae, or Emma? Spoiler alert if you didn't know about it.
I knew about it. That one's really hard, because on one hand, Emma was a massive surprise. But I do think she's going to get like a lot more outside of WWE than she was ever going to get inside WWE. Like, they buried her originally. They tried to bring back Emelina. She couldn't quite pull that off. So like, at that point, I was just like, yeah, you're probably not going to get much.
That Emelina thing went on for God knows. I think 6-7 months. That Emelina thing went on for, and it appeared. I think she came out once, and it was just like, nah, didn't fancy it, and then left. Yeah. All right. What wrestler would you want to headline WrestleMania with? Anyone in the world? Someone you've trained with? Someone you've watched work? Anyone?
Oh, okay, that
Quick
one's
fire,
really...
Brandon. Quick fire.
Okay, I'm gonna say one name just because I sort of like I trained a lot with him at the beginning, and I'm gonna say Mav. Mav deserves to headline WrestleMania. I don't know if I do, but 100% Mav does, and the opportunity to just be opposite the ring with him after like we spent a lot of time together as he was training and coming up. I would absolutely love the opportunity to be at WrestleMania with Mav.
Just to clarify, that's previous guest Lewis Mayhew, Maverick Mayhew. Is that correct? Just for listeners.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
The cheeky chap himself. The cheeky chap himself. All right. One match that you would recommend everyone watch.
Oh,
as a fan.
I don't want to go for a popular one because the popular one is obviously Ricochet Ospreay. That was an amazing match. But if I'm going to go for a match that people haven't watched, I'm going to go. Actually, I'm going to go with one that I've heard good things about. I haven't watched yet out of anticipation. Like I don't want to watch it too early. I want to hear loads of really good things and then look for them things inside the match. So I've not watched it yet, but I heard it's really good, and I would recommend everyone watch it. Is Travis Banks versus Pete Dunne at Progress when, spoiler alert, Trav won the Progress title.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. No, I haven't seen that. I saw the one at the NXT show. That was fucking incredible.
Oh, okay, that one as well. Like Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, watch that NXT. Like genuinely could be match of the year this year. And
yeah,
to think
I agree with that.
Like, guys that weren't even like noticed by WWE's fan base, like back last year, like January is when they finally started to be noticed. So to think that, yeah, definitely that was an amazing match.
Yeah, I don't know how they don't use them more as well. But all right, this is the last one for fan time. Is it a senton or is it an elbow?
Oh no, it's a senton.
It's a senton.
It is a senton.
I saw it yesterday, and I gotta say, yesterday's one was a senton. It was. There was no elbows. It was just a full-on senton. But I thought I'd ask.
Because people kept calling it an elbow to me, and I was like, I was so resentful that people were calling it an elbow that before I used to chop my arm out to the other side of them, and like basically so that it didn't actually feel anything at all.
Yeah,
and
protect the other guy.
Well, now I'm just like, I'm firm with everything else I do. I might as well just be firm with this one too. So like, now I just tuck my arms in, land on it, and go, that's right, it's a senton.
Nice, I like it. So, what does the future hold for Brandon Croft then? What's 2018 goals?
WrestleMania, Hall of Fame. The 2018, I've set myself a few goals. There's a few guys that I want to wrestle, and I want to try and branch out, double my companies that I've wrestled for, and say 10. I don't know if that's going to be achievable, but if anything from like the past 3 months of my career goes by, like I'm sure it will be. So I want to wrestle for 10 companies by the end of next year. I want to hold a title somewhere, just something from a promoter to say Brandon isn't a straw anymore. And yeah, I want to wrestle multiple people on the top of my list, like that I can remember right now off the top of my head. And there's so many names, so don't be offended if I don't say your name. But 3 that I can think of the top of my name right now: Johnny Storm, RJ Singh, and Ash Draven.
Nice list. Good list. So, I mean, you mentioned as well that you've been in all those other promotions. What have you noticed, the fact that coming from IPW and then going to all these different ones, is there anything you've kind of noticed? Is there any different locker room etiquettes or any different ways of doing things from different promotions? Or is it pretty much you turned up and it was just like business as usual?
It's there's different things that I've learned. Like I was at IPW, and IPW is a smart crowd. Like you've got the punters that go to every single wrestling show. They know everything. Like they know how to do things that you do in the ring. And it's like, oh, how am I going to get these guys? So like you don't need to be vocal with smart crowds, because smart crowds are like, you know, they already know what you're doing. You don't need to talk to them. Yeah. And I've been to Dropkixx, and I was so quiet, and I noticed how loud everyone else was. And like I think I picked up on that a lot more though. Like last night, I was quite vocal, and like I've learned to be more vocal because that's what, like, you know, when you've not got a smart crowd, you've just got like a bunch of kids and a few adults. Adults don't really want to be there. Like, yeah, you've got to be vocal. You've got to bring them in, and unlike a smart crowd, your wrestling alone can't do that.
Yeah.
Etiquette wise for backstage, I'd say IPW, like it's lovely to be backstage at IPW. There's a lot of really lovely guys, but there's also a level of intensity. They've got a smart crowd. You've got some of the greatest workers in the world coming down, and there's a certain level of intensity, and like there's still like a lot of fun to be had. But when I went over to Dropkixx and I was backstage, it was a lot more fun. Where like you just find that you can have a lot more banter when there's not as high intensity, and when you've got a company with as established guys as in IPW, you find that timid, intense, and you kind of feel like you can have a lot as you can have on these other shows.
Brandon, thank you very much for taking the time out to speak with us today. Any parting words for people? Any shout-outs at all?
I'm going to leave you some parting words. Before I came on here, I was actually on Facebook just commenting on someone's picture where they went to Comic-Con and dressed up as Nikki Bella. And I just want to actually say, like, if you want to come to the business, don't come because you like wrestling. Come because you have a plan to do something. Like when like people come into the business and they just go, I want to be a wrestler, you don't tend to make it. But when you come into the business going, I've gone through all of this, and now I can inspire people and help people away from going through what I've had to go through. Like just the idea that you can basically inspire people to not have to deal with what they have to deal with in everyday life. If you can do that, then be in the business as much as you can. Like, people like that need to come into the business. Don't come in here because it's, oh, I like wrestling. Come in here because it's your chance to make a change, and it's something that you love. Like, I absolutely love wrestling. I still feel like a kid, even though I'm technically now an adult. Like, I feel like a kid when I wrestle. I feel like when I was a kid, and my mum used to not let me out my room, I used to stand at my window, looking out the window, hoping Peter Pan would come and rescue me. And it feels like he has, because once I get to do this full time, hopefully I will. Like, this is going to be just like being a kid for the rest of your life. And someone that I was talking to, Kimmy Parsons, she is absolutely an inspiration. And like, she is going to be the next Nikki Bella. She is going to be such an amazing person. She's gone through so much, and she's come in and she's gone, this is all I have wrestling, and this is all I want to do, or this is all I want to do is inspire people, not let people go through what I went through. And to know that someone comes in with that kind of inspiration, that inspires me, it inspires everyone around us. So if you come in and you've got that passion, just honestly, you train anywhere that you can, whatever's closest, whatever you think's best. Like, Knuckle Locks is an amazing school, Dropkixx is an amazing school as well, before Lucas says anything. But like, honestly, if you come in with that kind of inspiration like Kimmy did, you mean the world to everyone around you. You mean the world to the kids. Like, you know, you watch John Cena doing his Make-A-Wish stuff, and it's like, it makes you want to cry. Like, and I have cried so many times watching that kind of thing. So if you've got that passion, if you've got that love for the sport, and that love to make a change in the world, you're the kind of person that I want to be stood opposite the ring with. You're the kind of person that I want to be watching on shows, because it shows in the way you wrestle. Like, everyone comes in for a reason. Like, if you come in with that kind of reason, honestly, you're the kind of person that I would absolutely love to see in wrestling. So yeah, if I had to give a shout out, it'd be to Kimmy, also Hacken, I guess, because he got me in the business. But like, Hacken's alright. Hacken's my friend. But Kimmy is like, yeah, Kimmy's a massive inspiration right now for where I am in my journey. So I'd say that.
I like, just like you, I like the passion coming from people. Like, I don't like people just like going, oh, I'm going to be a wrestler, turn up, wrestle, go home. I like the whole investment into the business. So no, I appreciate that, man. It's good. Thank you for taking the time out to be on the show, man. I much appreciate it. And Brandon, I look forward to hopefully stepping in the ring with you sometime soon as well, potentially. And thanks again for taking the time out to sit down and talk to us today.
No, I've absolutely loved it, bro. Thank you very much. And if you do step aside the ring, make sure you lay your strike then.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. So, guys and girls, that's it from me this week. Thank you for following this journey. Thank you for listening to the show. I look forward to wrestling a match with you all soon. And guys and girls, I'll speak to you all next week. Thank you for listening. And people, I need your help. I would love it if you could pop over to iTunes to leave this podcast a review. Your reviews are so important to me. I need to understand what you think of the show, and it helps just raise awareness for everyone else on this show. And not only that, guys, if you have a friend or a relative who you know is an avid wrestling fan, please point them in this podcast's direction.